Tonight, the setbacks keep coming for a St. John's woman who has major problems with her public housing.
I can't get out of my house.
Trapped not only at home, but on her first floor. An inaccessible house is keeping her in and her loved one out.
Police believe this was the scene of a deadly incident near Bay Roberts on Monday. But still many unanswered questions.
It's frightening, and it's consistent.
Yes, there is concern.
I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
There was something on his mind that he wanted to say, he would say it. And he didn't care if it made you laugh or it offended you. He just was so
authentically himself.
Yeah.
Celebrating the memory of their reigning queen, we hear about an upcoming tribute show in St. John's.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A woman in a wheelchair says she's trapped inside her St. John's home. Her public housing unit isn't accessible. She can't even reach her own bathroom. And for Rhonda Whalen, that's just one of many hurdles. Here and Now's Heather Gillis brings us that story in this feature report.
That's when I have to be careful of where I'm going.
It's a tight squeeze between the living room and the kitchen, but this isn't the biggest obstacle Rhonda Whalen is facing. It's getting to the bathroom on the second floor in her City of St. John's public housing unit. Instead of a toilet, Whalen has to use a commode in the kitchen, adjacent to her dining table. It's a difficult task after her home care workers leave when she's by herself. Dangerous, too, because the commode can tip easily. Whalen can fall.
Most times I try to go myself. It's a lot of time for me to do it because I don't feel on this side.
She does all of her personal care here, from washing her hands to brushing her teeth to bathing the best she can. She can't cook here without help either.
I can't reach over to turn on anything there.
And has a burn on her arm from the last time she tried. Whalen lost her left leg last December after an infection, and then in May she had a stroke affecting the right side and her remaining leg.
But then when I came home from after I come to the hospital, I couldn't get up over the stairs.
This is the big impediment in Rhonda Whalen's house. There are 15 stairs between her and the bathroom upstairs. And it's not just inside Rhonda Whalen's house that the stairs are an issue. There are about 3 to get out of the house, and then here on Carter's Hill there are about 20 going up and another 20 odd going down.
It means Whalen is trapped, isolated.
I can't get out of my house. I get out, tried a few times to get out to the front door so that I can talk to someone or see someone or whatever.
She can only get out by calling an ambulance, being carried up or down the stairs.
But I can't do anything. I can't go to the grocery store. I can't take Alexis out to get ice cream.
Whalen used to take care of her 6-year-old granddaughter, Alexis. Her mom, Whalen's daughter, died in a car crash when Alexis was just an infant. She's been raising her ever since. Now they can't live together because Whalen is unable to get up to the bedrooms and check on her if something were to happen.
But Alexis has nothing or no one other than me. I miss her every single day, every night.
And because her house isn't accessible, Whalen sleeps here on the sofa and has brought all of her granddaughter's toys downstairs for when she visits. Whalen has requested a new unit from the City of St. John's, but there aren't any available. Mayor Danny Breen declined an interview, but in a statement, a spokesperson says the city has only 25 accessible public housing units. That's 5% of its properties. The last time one was available was in 2023. The city also says, we understand the urgency in getting Ms. Whalen proper housing and have been exploring alternative accommodations with her. And unfortunately, to date, a solution has not been attainable.
I'm here, it's just stressing me so much.
It's very degrading.
Whalen's MHA, Jim Dinn, says the situation is taking a toll.
It's extremely isolating, and that is not going to be good for her mental health. And I would suggest that her physical well-being is being affected by this as well.
Dinn is calling on the City of St. John's and the provincial government to work together to find a solution for Whalen fast. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to the West Coast, where a community garden is gutted. The Bay St. George YMCA had been growing food to donate to local charities until earlier this week when they realized they'd been robbed. All of their potatoes were taken, but there is a happy ending.
At first, I thought it was my father had told me you got to wait till your potatoes fall right to the ground and then you'll know they're ready to harvest. And I thought, oh, they've fallen to the ground. But they were pulled out of the ground. So if for a moment I was happy thinking the crop was ready to go, and in the next few minutes as I got closer to the garden, I realized what had happened. I immediately got out of the car and went to work at trying to salvage what was there. I cried a little bit while doing that because there was a lot of effort put into it. I was upset that our donation to the food bank would be depleted. I don't tend to use our platform for anything negative. We're about filling gaps in the community, and we'd like to share the love. But I was so upset, and I would say that my mood just totally turned around within the hour because my phone blew up. I could not manage the amount of people that were contacting me asking how they could help. And when I showed up this morning, and even before I arrived at office, outside of my office door, there was 150 pounds of potatoes and cabbage and turnip and carrot just sitting there. While it may have been one negative action here, the way it was turned around and the community support that we received, because of that, I can't put into words. I would say by the time we actually bring this to the food bank, it will far exceed any of our expectations. While we would have loved, because we put our heart and soul into it, the end result is going to be a far bigger donation to the food bank. So that'll show you what community spirit can do.
Nice to see a positive ending with that for sure. Well, legislation to regulate offshore wind development in Newfoundland and Labrador, as well as Nova Scotia, has cleared the Senate. Bill C-49 passed third reading in the Senate on Tuesday. As part of the Atlantic Accord, the two provinces must pass mirror legislation. Now, Nova Scotia did that last month, and Federal Energy and Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson says he expects this province will soon follow. Once regional environmental assessments are complete, the minister says bids can open. Rain, it's a name fit for a queen. The St. John's drag community is grieving one of its own. Johnny Nicol, who performed under the name Rain Michaels, has died. The community has organized a fundraiser for the family of the 30-year-old and a tribute show on Friday night. Some of Johnny's friends swung by the St. John's Morning Show studio to talk about the performer.
Rain was nothing short of incredible. The thing that stuck out the most this week for me is that they were a light for all of us. They lit up any room they walked into, and the stage was their happy place. So Friday night, we're really gonna live up to their legacy, hopefully, and perform for them.
Johnny was very interested in doing drag, so I, along with my friend Charles, put him in drag, and I just saw a light like turn on inside of him. And I knew that from that moment on, I had created a fierce drag queen. There was nothing that he loved more than doing drag.
He was actually doing some makeup on someone the other day when another one of our friends went through Sephora, and it was just like anytime doing anything they love, whether it was performing or doing makeup on someone or themselves or serving a bar, it was just like sparks all the time.
Any show you were in with Rain, you had to watch out because Rain's performances were next level.
Yes.
In the past few years, Rain has not only conquered the local drag scene, but she's won the hearts of anyone who's seen a Rain Michaels show. At a Rain Michaels show, you'd see her jumping off a 6-foot stage in a gown. She might be climbing the railing of a stage. She was really a very charismatic performer. She was very dynamic. She loved a good power ballad, and she also loved a good raunchy song.
Yeah. Johnny had no filter. If there was something on his mind that he wanted to say, he would say it. And he didn't care if it made you laugh or it offended you. He just was so
authentically himself.
Yeah.
He was authentically himself all the time.
Yeah.
There's never a time that you never seen Johnny that you didn't leave feeling better than when you've seen him.
Yeah.
Every time you see him, he would leave you with a kiss or a hug or tell you how amazing you were. Mm-hmm. And usually after seeing them, within 20 to 30 minutes of them either going home or separating, you'd receive a message telling you how grateful they were to have you in their life and how glad they were that they found a community and a family like us.
No one expected it. Had we known that Johnny/Rain was going through this, I feel like she would know that she had the support. It's hard to struggle alone, and the community right now is doing a lot of healing, and I think that we're coming along, but it is still weighing very heavy on all of us.
We all got together at the hospital multiple times over the last few days. 3 of us included were able to be there during the hero walk when they rolled the bed down to go to the operating room to give 6 organs to make 6 brand new lives, essentially. Yeah. So just to know that his part of him is out there still and his heart is still beating is just amazing. Mm-hmm.
Well, the weather will finally brighten up for parts of us across the province, but there is some rain in the forecast as well. I'll have all the details coming up in a few minutes.
Instructors at a St. John's school are embracing the elements, getting messy, and they're encouraging students to do the same. Cloudberry Forest School breaks out of the classroom, creating lessons on the forest floor. We drop by to speak with the owner and parents about the appeal.
We are entering our 10th year of operation here at O'Brien Farm, and we are an outdoor play-based program. So our core programming is for children ages 3 to 5, and the goal is to get children outside all day, all the time, playing in the mud, climbing the trees, going down to the river, petting the goats. We believe that a place-based approach to learning really kind of helps children learn, and in an outdoor play-based setting, we have an opportunity to do a lot more learning than you would do in an inside classroom.
The main reason we chose Cloudberry was that it's an outdoor program, and I think it's important for kids, especially of preschool ages, to have as much outdoor free play time as possible. It helps, release that energy that they have at that age, and also they still learn all the things they need to in a very supportive environment. So, and I mean supportive in ways of, the forest, nature. It's very calming up here. They learn different ways to interact socially and engage with each other and work out conflict, but in a very supportive, calming environment for them.
I think what a lot of people are looking for is that connection back to nature. So being aware of where you come from, being aware of your place. We're entering a climate crisis right now, and the children that come through our program really develop a connection, an appreciation, and a stewardship of the earth and the spaces that we work in.
Wow, Forest School, what a great idea. And speaking of schools, Ashley, you were inside a school today.
Yeah, another nice day to be inside in East this afternoon. Yeah, I had another school visit today. Lovely grade 5 class from Mary Queen of Peace here. If you just want to take a look at these pictures here behind me. They had so many great questions. We had a short period of time together, but in that we talked a lot about hurricanes. Again, that tornado question, and always lightning. Everybody always wants to know how lightning forms. So very cool. Thank you so much for having me. And hopefully there's some more schools out there to visit over the next little bit. But the weather today, like I said, it was a great day to be inside. And it was a good morning for a jacket for a good chunk of us. -1 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Fairly chilly, -4 in Deer Lake. That's where the coolest air was. And then even around Corner Brook, hovering around the 0-degree mark. And again tonight, it's going to be very similar to what we're seeing. So cool, calm conditions will allow those temperatures to drop overnight tonight. Not really rebounding or we did rebound in some areas for sure, but other areas not really seeing too much in the way of movement. And it's because we've been stuck in this pattern, which I have been talking about, basically rinse and repeat for the last little bit. But that area of low pressure finally going to move off over the next couple of, tonight and into tomorrow, which will allow this ridge of high pressure to dominate the weather picture. And that is going to bring some blue sky to the forecast over the next 24 hours. Another area of low pressure to the north, though, with a couple of fronts associated with it. And this is going to bring some shower activity towards Labrador as we head to tonight and into tomorrow even. We'll see some of those showers work their way towards the west coast of the island. Our daytime highs today, single digits through central. Gander only reaching 8 today. Same thing for Twillingate, 10 in St. John's. But you head towards the west coast, temperatures just a tad warmer than that. And even up across Labrador, not overly warm, but still above where you should be sitting this time of year. 9 degrees was your afternoon high in Nain today. So we can see that area of low pressure, some high clouds associated with a front as well. That's moving in now. But for the most part, we should see some clearing skies overnight tonight, but we're still hanging on to that cloud cover for just the tip of the northern, the Bonavista Peninsula, and then the northern portion of the Avalon as well. So still seeing the chance of some showers tonight. Eventually they will clear off, which will be lovely. And but that is going to set the stage, like I said, for some clear and calm conditions, which will allow those temperatures to drop overnight again tonight. Up across Labrador, still looking at the chance of showers for most, and that will head towards the coast as we get into the early morning hours. But overall, overnight lows will sit in the single digits and likely below zero, again in low-lying areas, about 7 degrees for St. John's. And then up across Labrador, 6 to 10 degrees for most except Lab City. You'll have around 3 degrees overnight tonight. So it is going to be chilly, but it will be unsettled through the overnight for you. As we head into tomorrow, still unsettled up across Labrador. Most of us across the island should see some sunshine, but as we head into the afternoon, areas like the west coast, northern peninsula, even parts of the southwest coast, will see those clouds on the increase with the chance of some showers. Now, they'll be isolated, pretty spotty in nature, but the chance is still certainly there. And we'll see that up across Labrador as well. As we head into the evening, though, skies should clear out, especially through central areas of Labrador, maybe even the west, and not till the overnight for those of you towards coastal areas. But those clouds will move right back in as we head into Saturday morning. Temperatures tomorrow, pretty nice, generally speaking. We should be talking about daytime highs around 14 to 17 degrees. Now, the Burin Peninsula, it looks like you could see your temperature nearing the 20-degree mark, but likely around 19 for Mary's Harbour as you head towards the southwest, about 16 in Port Basket, and a little cooler towards the northern peninsula, only around 14 or 15 degrees tomorrow. Labrador, for the most part, will be sitting somewhere between 12 to 15 degrees tomorrow, with the exception of Lab West, where you will hover around 7 degrees with plenty of sunshine, but your winds will be out of the west around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. We'll talk about the long range coming up a little later on the show.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, it's now been 3.5 days since a suspicious death on a quiet dirt road in Bay Roberts. There are still plenty of unanswered questions, and as Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports, a growing sense of unease.
Charred earth, metal and plastic, the scene of a suspicious death. Veterans Highway is about 1 kilometer back that way. We're just west of Bay Roberts, a quiet dirt road. This is cabin country. But on Monday morning, a fire-fueled deadly scene unfolded right here. Monday morning, this Chevy Colorado pickup was engulfed in flames. The firefighters from Bay Roberts put out the fire and stepped back. Inside the truck, a body. On Wednesday, the RCMP labeled the death suspicious. Police are pleading for anyone with information to come forward. The rumor mill around here is buzzing, and the RCMP are being very selective over what information they're going to release. But people are trying to figure out whose remains were found inside that pickup. And they're questioning, was this a targeted hit? Whatever happened, the RCMP say there's no threat to public safety.
It's a terrible tragedy that happened within our community.
The Bay Roberts mayor is trusting that the RCMP will find out what happened.
But it's only natural for people to worry about these kinds of incidents. And these are serious and it's very tragic. But again, we'll have to wait and get word from the RCMP.
The suspicious death in Bay Roberts occurred just 2 days after this BMW was torched in nearby Mackenson's. The RCMP believe the car is linked to a shooting earlier on Saturday on Random Island, 150 kilometers away. No one was injured in the shooting, but an SUV was peppered with at least 5 bullets, and 2 homes were struck by stray rounds. And Monday's suspicious death is eerily similar to the killing in the spring of 2023 of Adam Mercer. Mercer was also found inside a burned pickup in what police have labeled a heinous crime. This mayor is also on edge.
It's frightening for everybody. Lock your doors. If you see something suspicious, call the RCMP, call your mayor, call one of your town councillors, but don't live in fear, but take the security measures that you need to take right now in this day and age, because the world that we lived in 2 years ago is not the world that we live in today.
There's always been a level of crime here in CBN, like any other area in the province, but local leaders say it's spiked in recent years, and they're blaming the illicit drug trade. These leaders say the RCMP need more cops.
We got to get more resources for our police forces. They can't keep up with the day-to-day activity. So when something major like this happens, this incident, it's fearful, and we just need more resources in this area, and it's frightening, and it's consistent.
We don't want to take resources from anybody else, but we have the numbers to prove it. The data is there to prove that we need more resources out here.
A suspicious death. And while it's not a public threat, that's little comfort to the people who live here. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Bay Roberts.
Heading back now to St. John's. You're looking at a live shot of St. John's Harbour from our rooms camera in downtown St. John's. It's a nice evening out there, a little bit gray, but we're used to that, right? Well, stay with us. More local news and weather is on the way, including my conversation with the Retail Council of Canada. Well, some 45,000 union workers walked off the job this week at American seaports along the East Coast. It's a strike that experts say could cost the U.S. economy $5 billion every day and could lead to a shortage of goods and an uptick in prices in this province.
Our pay is based on an hourly wage. If there's not a ship in the port, a lot of guys don't get paid. Okay, we work when the ships work. We're available when the ships are here. Guys work nights, they work weekends, they work when the ships are here. We're on call all the time. And we're not complaining. We're not complaining. That's the job.
Well, two unions are at the center of the strike in ports from Maine to Texas. The two main issues, wages and automation, like the use of driverless trucks and cranes. Longshoremen primarily work on container ships. Some also work with car carriers and cruise ships. They operate the cranes carrying shipping containers, securing cargo, and preventing them from falling off during transit. And as I mentioned, the strike could affect the availability of goods on store shelves in this province. But Jim Cormier of the Retail Council of Canada says the good news is some major retailers have prepared for this strike. I spoke with him about what we can expect in this province.
Well, potentially it could be really problematic for everybody around Atlantic Canada. It's a massive number of ports throughout the United States, all down the eastern seaboard into the Gulf. And then, of course, we just finished up with a 3-day strike at the port in Montreal, which could come back again with 72 hours notice. So, there's a lot going on right now, which does end up potentially having a huge impact on the ability of retailers to get the products that, in this case, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians want and need. So, obviously retailers, big ones in particular, they're able to plan. They've been able to plan ahead for this. So, some of them have been able to bring in products a little bit earlier than they normally would, which, should help alleviate some of the concern. That said, perishable products, you can't really stockpile those. So, there could be impacts throughout the supply chain that will then necessitate retailers having to look at alternatives, and alternatives are not cheap.
What kind of products do you think could be affected?
Well, again, it could be, if you think of going into a big general merchandise retail store, it could be just about any of the products that you see in there. Again, I don't want to get down into specifics, but we are so wholly reliant on shipping to bring in retail products into the country. Those products that we don't necessarily make on our own. So, whether it be East Coast or West Coast ports, a whole lot of retail product comes in via ship. And then, of course, it goes on rail or truck in order to get to the stores in places like Newfoundland and Labrador. So it could have a profound impact on everything from hardware goods to clothing to food to electronics, you name it. So it will end up having an impact. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not so easy as to just say, well, just bring it in through the West Coast ports, because as you can understand, geographically, that's a huge extra distance that would be involved in having to get those products over to the West Coast and then ship back east. Doing it via air, that's also extremely expensive. If you're a distributor and you have to come up with a different and more expensive method to get your product to Newfoundland and Labrador, your costs increased. So, of course, you're not going to eat those costs, probably. So you're going to pass on those increased costs to the warehouse. The warehouse will pass it on through to the truckers. The truckers will pass it on through to the retailer. The retailer will likely pass it on through to the customer. So that's the issue was, and often retailers are the ones that get blamed whenever there are price increases, looking back on the last year. But the point we've always made is there are about 12 different steps in the supply chain before it ever gets to a retailer. And that's the point that we're making, is that if decisions like that have to be made, their costs go up, they pass those costs on down through the supply chain, it eventually gets to the retailer that is dealing with a massive increase in their own costs, so they have to pass it on to the consumer, and they're the ones that get blamed by the public.
It's a real reminder, too, of how fragile the supply chain is and how vulnerable we can be, especially here living on an island.
Well, exactly. And, I live in Nova Scotia, which is almost an island. And so even just getting product to the east coast of our country at times can be a real challenge. Obviously, even more challenging for the good folks in Newfoundland and Labrador. But, I guess one of the things that we can be heartened by is the fact that, as I mentioned, a lot of, especially the bigger retailers, they saw this was a potential to happen, and so they did order in, at least on the non-perishable front, a lot of products in advance. I do know of stories, anecdotally, of bigger retailers that have brought in even some of their Christmas offerings early, so that if there were prolonged strikes, that they could deal with it. If you're dealing with non-perishable goods, some retailers that have brought that in. It's more difficult, though, for smaller to mid-sized retailers to do that. So it could have a disproportionate impact on them. The other part to keep in mind is that we do produce a lot of food within North America. So on the food front, where we're not into winter yet, there may not be as much of an issue if the strike doesn't go on too long. Obviously, certain products that do have to come in from other countries, those will be impacted. But we do produce a lot of food here in North America it doesn't require a ship to come into a port to get those products onto the island of North America. So we'll wait and see what the impact will be on the food system.
Olympic gold medalist Caitlin Osmond is in town this week, but not for skating. The retired figure skater is originally from Marystown, but now calls Alberta home. After a 2-year break, Osmond will be joining Stars on Ice this December, which features 2 stops in Newfoundland. She visited our CBC studio to chat with On the Go's Chrissy Holmes.
152.15. I'm just here for some personal enjoyment. First time back without my skates in my hand, so it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, my cousin's getting married this week, so we're just enjoying that time. There's a lot going on. I'm way too busy right now, but somewhat like it. I just need to take a nap. It's been exciting. So I'm in school full-time, media studies and creative writing. So that's actually really fun, and it's taking up a lot of my time right now. But I've been coaching, and I teach a lot of workshops and seminars recently. So I've been going to a lot of small towns, mostly out west. I'm literally gone coast to coast this month alone. I was in Vancouver Island last weekend, and then here this weekend. So I'm just kind of everywhere, but it's been super fun and busy, and I love teaching seminars. I'm back in practically exactly 2 months from now. Yeah, it's a busy couple months. I'm looking forward to it. Well, right now I took a step back from coaching just a little bit because I'm teaching a lot of at camps and I'm away a lot, and school takes up a lot of my time, but also because I've needed to train and get ready for the tour. This is my first tour in 2 years since the last holiday on ice. And I was planning on stepping away from shows for a significant amount of time after the last tour that I was on. And about 6 months ago, my agent reached out to me and he's like, hey, we're doing this show in Newfoundland again. We want you back in some fashion. And I was like, sign me up. I'm like, I can't turn it down. And then I met him a few weeks later, and we were talking about different markets in Newfoundland. And my agent actually coordinates a lot of this tour, and he was out in New York, so he actually didn't know that there was more markets in Newfoundland to get to. So we were excited. This is the first time I believe that Holiday has gone to Corner Brook, so we're looking forward to doing both the East and the West. I don't have too many details yet. I've been starting to work on my own choreography, and I've changed my music now 3 times. But I know it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time. With that, everyone is doing like one fun theme celebration program, but they're also doing a holiday program. So we are tying that in. Caitlin Weaver is a part of the choreography team. So I'm excited to be a part of that, as I've never been a part of Caitlin's choreography. So it'll be different. It'll be fun. I can guarantee you it'll be a great time. And yeah, we have an international cast with a bunch of Canadians, but also American Gracie Gold is going to be on the tour, as well as Jeremy Abbott, who was here during the Rock the Rink tour that we were on. Satoko Miyahara, who is from Japan and such a sweetheart to work with. So I'm really looking forward to that. The show here in St. John's is on my birthday, so I need people to celebrate with me, because if not, I'm just going to do a show.
On the 3rd or the 5th? Which one's
5th.
5th. Okay. December 5th.
I'll be turning 29 last year, my 20s.
A child has died from rabies after being exposed to an infected bat in northern Ontario. It's the first domestically acquired case of human rabies in the province since 1967. Health officials say the child woke up with a bat in the room. The parents didn't see any bites, scratches, or saliva, so they didn't seek a vaccine. The child, who was from Brantford, was in hospital last month, but no other details have been released. Since reporting started 100 years ago, there have been only 26 cases of rabies in Canada, and all the cases were fatal. Officials say rabies is still in circulation and can cause severe damage to the brain and spinal cord. Well, the new head of NATO visited Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today as air raids sirens sounded in the capital, Kyiv. Mark Rutte became head of the alliance 2 days ago, vowing to shore up support for the beleaguered country in its war with Russia. The Ukrainian government, meanwhile, is calling for more military assistance from Western nations following another Russian airstrike. Officials say 12 people were wounded, including a young child, when a Russian glide bomb hit an apartment block in Kharkiv overnight. Ukraine's second largest city is close to the Eastern Front and is again coming under heavy bombardment. Ukraine has no air defense against glide bombs. Well, Governor General Mary Simon invested 4 companions, 21 officers, and 29 members into the Order of Canada at Rideau Hall today. Canadian actress Sandra Oh was among those who was made an officer of the order. In addition to her stage and screen work, she was honored for her advocacy for arts. Former CBC reporter Brian Stewart was also named an officer. He was one of the first journalists to cover 1984's Ethiopia famine. Another CBC journalist, the Fifth Estate's Bob McEwen, was named a member as well. Well, from one star to another, the sky watchers who look deep into space are having trouble seeing as far as they used to. Thousands of communication satellites are getting in the way. The CBC's Nicole Mortellero has that story.
The stunning Milky Way at night, lost to most of humanity due to ground light pollution from streetlights, homes, and cars. But now astronomers are worried about another source of pollution, and it's coming from above. Satellites, mainly driven by SpaceX, which launches its Starlinks roughly twice a week.
If you're launching like 10 satellites, fine, great, no problem. But if you're doing that every week, you can't just consider those 10 satellites, as an isolated thing, right? It's part of this larger cumulative impact.
These satellites are designed to provide internet access around the world, particularly in remote locations, but they're interfering with astronomical research, both in the optical wavelength and in the radio wavelength, which allows astronomers to see what our eyes can't. SpaceX has more than half of all active satellites in orbit, 6,000, and are planning for a total of 42,000.
If this satellite proliferation continues, then it is a huge problem for science. It's a huge problem for being able to observe the universe, to being able to understand what's out there.
SpaceX acknowledges the issue and is working with astronomers to make the satellites dimmer and quieter. Yet, the problems persist. A new study found that second-generation Starlinks are leaking electromagnetic radiation, which creates noise for radio astronomers.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
Further complicating things, SpaceX isn't the only one launching these mega constellations of satellites. China is proposing 40,000 of its own.
I think that we're just on an unsustainable path right now. I think that there's not international coordination is not a priority on anyone's radar right now, and it's more of like a kind of a Wild West space race situation.
Runaway progress at the cost of what we see in the night sky and what we don't. Nicole Mortellero, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, an artist in Italy is marking the upcoming U.S. presidential election and paying tribute to his preferred candidate. Have a look at this. It's no ordinary portrait of Kamala Harris. It covers nearly 3 hectares and was created using a tractor, traps, and a farm field. The traps give color to the eyes and earrings. The artist says he was inspired by the Harris quote, "Optimism is the fuel that drives every struggle we do." Now, he's also created land portraits of Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Pope Francis. Very interesting. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
details.
Well, some fishermen on the tip of the northern peninsula fear the fishery will die with their generation, but they have a solution. This week on Atlantic Voice, Caroline Hillier explains why these fishermen are looking to lobster for economic salvation.
We're worse off than we were, during the moratorium because we can't sell anything else. The problem is now where lobsters got plentiful and like crabs, so when this stuff is being fished, the people that's fishing that are doing quite well, and the fellows that don't have that stuff just got to sit idle by and watch them with nothing to fish. Like most people talk about in the fishery now, talking about getting enough for their EI, they're talking about two EI claims. No fishermen there in this area, like the 20 harvesters there, never ever got enough for 2 EI claims. Takes all summer to scrape to get enough for one, and most people didn't make enough for one last year, not for a top claim, and certainly not going to do it this year by the looks of it. Nobody hears us because I guess we're not complaining enough. We're just trusting to other people to help us out and do something for us, and where's a small group of us? Like, it's no good for us. I mean, we wouldn't even get any news coverage if we, okay, boys, 20 of us is getting together now. We're going down shutting DFO, or we're going in on the hill in St. John's. Nobody would even know we're there.
Well, you can hear more from harvesters on the Northern Peninsula and their hope for a lobster fishery on Atlantic Voice. That's this Sunday morning on CBC Radio 1, 9 o'clock in Newfoundland, 8:30 in most parts of Labrador. You can also find Atlantic Voice on the CBC Listen app. Well, Ashley, we did get to see like a few little peaks of sun today throughout the day every now and then in between the misty weather that we also had, but tomorrow is looking good as we head into the weekend, right?
A much better chance of some sunshine tomorrow. Hopefully that pans out considering the forecast over the last little bit. But yeah, it does look like a better chance of some sunshine tomorrow. Let's take a look at the forecast. Now, the West Coast, you may see more in the way of cloudy periods than kind of what you're seeing there. Corner Brook likely cloudy periods through the afternoon, and then maybe even a few chances of showers there. The best chance of showers, though, will be for the Northern Peninsula, and then maybe even towards central areas. And then up across Labrador, you're looking at unsettled conditions through the day as well. Mix of sun and cloud with the chance of showers. Temperatures between 12 to 15 degrees. However, single digits will be the story for those of you in Lab City tomorrow afternoon. As we head into Saturday, those shower chances will eventually end up across Labrador, but we do have our next weather maker that will move in, and it's going to bring some showers to portions of the maritime provinces and then cloud cover out ahead of it into most of the island. Now, as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, we're still looking at the chance of some showers again out ahead of this system for the West Coast and even maybe through parts of Central, but overall, it will be a bit of an unsettled day through your Saturday. Temperatures are going to warm up a little bit for the east. We should hit around 16, maybe even 17 degrees for the Avalon. And again, some shower chances through the first part of the day. Overall, daytime highs will sit around 18 degrees for Marystown. And then as central, basically mid-teens, and then Northern Peninsula a tad cooler, especially along the strait, where temperatures will hover around 10 or 11 degrees. Most of Labrador will see sunshine on your Saturday, but those clouds will be on the increase as the day goes on. So daytime highs between 10 to 13 degrees. As we head into Sunday, better chances of some showers will move in, especially for the west coast and south coast of the island. Again, this area of low pressure, or some unsettled conditions, I should say. Up across Labrador, for the most part, most will be sitting in some cloudy periods through the afternoon. But overall, pretty decent day for the most part. And then as we head into the evening hours, some shower chances for the east. We do return back to that northerly flow as we head into the evening hours as this area of low pressure passes to the south. So temperatures are going to head back down. So 10 to 12 degrees, maybe a little warmer for Port aux Basques, around 14 through the afternoon. But again, that northerly flow is going to keep us in some periods of drizzle and showers through the day, as well as some fog patches. And then Labrador single digits towards the coast as you're more in that onshore flow. Otherwise, 12 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay, same thing for Lab City with plenty of sunshine. Now the long range forecast, we are back to temperatures around 10 degrees. That will hang around on Monday with some shower chances. Same thing for Tuesday, but we may see some sunshine in the mix there as well. As you can see, by the time we get into Sunday and Monday, there's not a whole lot of movement in the temperatures, but it does look like Tuesday night will dip into the mid-single digits. And then for central Newfoundland, showers for Sunday, same thing into Monday, but you should see some clearing skies. Tuesday looks like cloudy periods with daytime high around 11 degrees and overnight lows into the single digits, 2-3 degrees possible. And then for western Newfoundland, some showers for Monday. Tuesday looks decent, although a tad chilly, and your overnight lows hovering around the 0 degree mark. Now for Labrador, overall, drop in temperatures as we head into next week. Unsettled conditions will return on Tuesday, and western Labrador, same thing. And yeah, pretty decent. Sunshine, I think so anyway. Our weather photo of the day is Crescent Lake. Take a look at this beauty.
Oh, that is gorgeous, gorgeous.
Wouldn't you want to hang out there on a nice evening with the fire going, calm conditions?
Some marshmallows.
It really.
Chocolate.
It really doesn't
s'mores.
get better. Yeah, it doesn't get better than this for sure. This is in Roberts Arm, but like I say, Crescent Lake. Pansy shared this shot with us. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to my Facebook page or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca. We'd love to get them on the show.
Yeah, that is a great shot. Thank you so much for that, Pansy. Well, it looks like tomorrow is, at least in the east, is a day to kind of get out and enjoy it. And Saturday, at least, is going to be kind of mild.
Mild.
So,
and I mean, this likely still will see some sunshine. I just don't think it will be fully sun.
Yeah,
but that's okay. It's still lots of time to get stuff done outside.
Absolutely.
Get
All
ready
right.
for that.
Yeah, for going back to the gray.
That's right.
All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.